Yes, it is. That has been the big story with Kenyans saying that my drink is in my cup and it needs to stay in my cup. And of course, we have the National Authority for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse Chairman, Mr. John Muthutho, in the studio with us, who says otherwise. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
We are fine, thank you.
I've just checked what you have in this party.
Yes.
It's
It's tea.
No, it's not tea. It's coffee. It's dormant coffee.
It's dormant coffee.
Yeah. I was buying the drinks.
Yes.
I was buying the drinks.
I'm sure
Yes.
I've checked it out.
Now that's just the thing, because you had to go and defend yourself, and of course the law that requires persons holding parties and checking the drinks to Kenyans, and you said that they are laws that were in place a long time ago. You're just overseeing it.
That's correct. Let me tell you, I was just admiring your phone because I use the same phone.
Yes.
And also, I don't want to say what it is because I'm not doing any commercials for anybody.
All right.
So I only take that we share the same kind of phone.
Yes.
And most of us are using very sophisticated phones, which can access the world, can access local news, can access local laws, can access everything. We even have organizations like Law Society of Kenya and everybody else. There's so many people, constitutional offices. But surprisingly, most of the time, I am afraid they are either not willing to read, or if they read, they must have went way beyond to the hours last night. Because what I said is this, and I will repeat and talking very slowly so that everybody hears me, because this is party time. That upon enactment of the Muthutho laws, that is Alcoholic Drinks Control Act of 2010, it is mandatory that for the minister to put in regulations. A law becomes effective only when you have regulations in force. Such regulations were pinned in the special gazette notice of 17th December 2010, and specifically fell. The way they do the numbering of pages in the legal notice is that the first one this year was number one, page 1, then it goes all the way to pages thousands and thousands. So this one was page 1129. So the special notice read, and it's a special issue, I read with your permission, Kenya Gazette Supplement number 91, into bracket legislative supplement number 59, and the legal notice number is 206. Dated 17th December 2010. In that, among other things, there are schedules. Schedules are the attachments, the annexures, and schedule 3, or that is on schedule 3, and that is page 1147, 1147. Item number 16 is temporary or occasional alcoholic drink licenses, and they give that as 1,000 shillings per day. I repeat, item number 16, schedule 3, temporary or occasional alcoholic drink license per day, 1,000 or 1K. Now, under schedule 4, schedule I said is an attachment. Item number 11, I read for you. Item number 11, temporary or occasional license. Authorized to sell. I repeat, authorized to sell alcoholic drink on the day and during the hours stipulated in the license by the district committee for the purposes of specific occasions, ceremonies, or events as indicated in the application, dated the 16th day of December 2010, and signed by the late Professor George Saitoti, Minister. The import of this, what it says is this. Let's assume there is Hilton International, and you are really heavy guy, viewer, the way I see you.
All right.
So you're going to do your party
Yes.
at Ligindogo, at open field.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a lot of alcohol and other things, and other goodies too. Now, does the license by Hilton International apply at Ligindogo? The answer is no. Mm-hmm. The cops can come in and spoil the party. They can come and mess you up because that is unlicensed premises. So to sanctify that, that's why this was created. Authorized to sell. So when a big daddy like me has a family and wants to do a party in the house, I'm not going to sell to my children the alcohol. No. Why do I require a license? Why do I? But if you are going to sell, or you are not a licensed seller, like now Hilton International, and you like to go to Ligindogo and have that party, and you are going to sell alcohol, then you require the 1,000 shillings license so that you can abide by the rules. That is the legal notice. Muthutho has not invented any new rules, nothing. I just read laundry for everybody to hear. But there's some things I like, some I don't like. Okay. There was a comedian called Nyambane one time, and Nyambane is my friend. Now he's a big man, he doesn't do comedies anymore now. And there was a very big drought here. And he came on here and said, and told the co-presenter, Carol, says he has an idea, brilliant idea, about the drought and how to manage drought. The best thing you can do is find shades, green shades to all cows, so that they will imagine that the whole place is green, and they will be happy, and they will eat the grass. Kenyans, when they see Muthutho, they see controversy. They think they are going to be thirsty. They imagine one of things. So when I read what I've just read, they imagine that Muthutho has come up with new rules. I'm not George Saitoti, and God rest him in eternal peace. It made it easy for you because you don't want somebody to come to interrupt your party.
Exactly.
So it is a civilized way to come on and do your party. And this is just ensures that you don't have under 18s coming to your party. Have you ever had what you call a bash, and then this under 14, under 18 is storming the mess?
I've never had, but yeah.
Yes, to ask the ones who have had an experience, call them, they ask them. So you just need to have the party for a civilized party, have regulatory mechanism there, safety of everybody and all the patrons. And now that we have alcohol brew, you need to be even more careful. So all we were saying is that comply to the legal notice number 206. That's all I've been saying.
All right.
Well, first of all, what you've read is obviously the interpretation that most people have taken after reading this, and the thank you for clarifying your position in relation, in particular, to house parties where alcohol is not being sold, and there is no exchange of alcohol for monetary purposes. But let's take sort of a global view of NACADA and the job of NACADA. We hear a lot about alcohol, but in Kenya today, we have a growing and extraordinarily serious problem, which is drug abuse and substance abuse. And we're seeing the progression of it, the evolution from glue and the things that boys and girls on the streets would sniff, and cat. And we're now seeing it transform into cocaine, into heroin, into hard drugs, into cocktails. And yet, we're having a big conversation about alcohol without having a similar light put on drug and drug abuse in Kenya, which falls squarely under your mandate.
Yeah, you are right in a way, but let me also tell you this. If you could click, this is a very modern station, computers all over, just click alcohol more dangerous than drugs, you'll see what pops up. Studies conducted around the world and acknowledged all over went like this. They identified 20 most dangerous substances, the drugs, including Mira. They identified them and then identified 20 parameters that are really things to watch out, including the effect on the immediate neighbor, like if I'm smoking and I'm next to you, what's going to happen? All that was evaluated. And upon evaluation, a scorecard was developed, agreed by the scientists, the social scientists, and everybody. And it was proved that alcohol was leading. Alcohol was more dangerous than drugs to an extent of 72%. Then we had cocaine, heroin at about 62%, 65%, tobacco at around 35%, miraa was at 9%, mushroom at 6%. That was number 20. Miraa was number 15. I think cigarette was around number 10 or thereabout, with methadone there at around 50% and thereabout. What I'm trying to say is, as of today, the sad news is those are the figures I don't like running through because they make me sleep for long, long hours. The number of workers in Kenya, including yourselves, employed by the private and public sector today, is about 2.1 million people. The ones who are going for this Christmas, 2.1 million people, period. Out of 40 million, the ones who are employed formally. And informally by the private sector is 2.1 million. The number of drug addicts, proven addicts or alcohol, drug-dependent people in Kenya, in the coast alone, that is 200,000. or 0.2 of a million, and then upcountry about 100,000. That makes it about 0.3 of a million. And alcohol dependent, what you are calling Wamunyota if you come from Central or one, whatever, or Kanavu or whatever you are calling them. That's another 2.1 million, so the total is about 2.4 million Kenyans are alcohol and drug dependent. You find again the tilt and the balance is towards alcohol, over 2 million people. In a situation like we are in now, what are we supposed to do? First and foremost and top urgent is to do what we call demand suppression. Address those people. They are Kenyans, they are our brothers, they are our sisters. You can't condemn them. You have to do and take measures that will reduce drug uptake and dependence. That's demand reduction. Because once you reduce the demand, then the suppliers will not have a market, and so forth and so on. So they work differently. The one you'd like to hear about more is supply suppression. But what do you do in a situation where the world is so complicated, the criminal justice system is so skewed that you do not know whom you're hunting down or whether you're being hunted down yourself? We are using very sophisticated systems now to try and sort out the supply side. But in the meantime, NACADA will be struggling to do massive rehabilitation, affordable for everyone, massive, even if it's tented camps, so that we reduce the current levels from now 2.4 to say within under 1 year, to about 1 million. Then we bring it down to about 500,000. That way there's no market for the staff. You are reducing the market. In terms of drugs, our problem is not this poor Nigerian guy who is coming with the 4 kilos in the stomach, the tablets, preparing to die and go to jail also at the same time. But the people who bring huge quantities, and we are trying to get them. How are they able to move through the ports, through the airports? How does that stuff get there? This calls for a lot of other agencies, the anti-narcotics. I don't want to do their job. I can only assure Kenyans that for the first time in any part of the world, in any part of the country, in any part of Africa, we have a government, the Jubilee government, that is totally committed to this vice.
With all due respect, sir, you don't want to do the job of the narcotics and the anti-narcotics forces. However, it can be argued that you are doing the job of the cabinet secretary who is in charge of, number one, dealing and relating to the laws and the regulations of the Alcohol Control Act, such as you have read it, and also that perhaps you're stepping outside of your mandate of as the head of NACADA.
I know where you are coming.
I think